It was one of those winter evenings where the snow seemed to swallow every sound. I had stayed later than usual at work, finishing up reports, and by the time I stepped outside, the streets were quiet, blanketed in soft white. I tugged my scarf a little tighter, the one my grandmother had made years ago. It was my favorite, thick wool, striped in gentle shades of cream and gray, with slightly uneven stitches that showed it had been made by hand, with love. Somewhere between the bus stop and my front steps, I noticed it was gone. My hands reached for it instinctively, and my heart dropped when I realized my neck was bare. Panic set in. I retraced my steps, scanning the snow, peering under benches, checking the bus shelter. But the streets were nearly empty, the snow already covering anything that had fallen. I stood there, the cold biting harder without that scarf, and felt a lump form in my throat. That scarf wasn't just wool. It was warmth, comfort, a reminder of my grandmother who had passed. I went to bed heavy-hearted, replaying the evening in my mind, hoping I had just missed it somewhere in my apartment. But when I woke and checked, it wasn't there. I opened my front door, and that's when I saw it, folded neatly on the porch rail, dusted with fresh snow. My breath caught. On top was a sticky note, slightly damp from the flakes. "You dropped this at the bus stop." Couldn't stand the thought of someone losing something so lovely, a fellow commuter. I stood there for a long moment, scarf in my hands, tears pricking my eyes. Who had done this? How had they known where I lived? Maybe they had followed the direction I walked. Maybe they had recognized me from the bus. Maybe it was just a lucky guess. But I'll never know. That day I wore the scarf proudly, not just because it was warm, but because it now carried two stories, the love of my grandmother and the kindness of a stranger. Every winter since, when I pull it out of the drawer, I think about that person, someone I'll never meet, who still found a way to make me feel cared for. And I remind myself that the smallest gestures often carry the most weight. In the months following that winter, I found myself paying closer attention to the people around me. Small interactions that I might have overlooked before now held a certain depth. A smile exchanged with a stranger. A simple act of holding the door open. I started to write letters to strangers. Sometimes I'd leave them under coffee cups in cafes, other times slipped into library books, and though I never saw their reactions, I hoped it might brighten their day. Acts of kindness don't always come full circle, but they ripple out, touching lives in ways we might never fully understand.